Welcome in, everybody, to the CFB Nation All-America podcast. I'm Bill Trocchi, senior editor at sportingnews.com, along with Bill Bender, or Ohio Bill, I don't know, one or the other, our national college football writer at sportingnews.com, and the president of the Football Writers Association of America. We're coming to you live on our CFB Nation YouTube channel again. If you want to subscribe, just go over to youtube.com, search CFB Nation, click subscribe. You can see us over there. You can get alerts when we're about to come live. And we are here every Tuesday and Thursday morning at 9:30 Eastern. And you will find us next Tuesday night as well after the CFB rankings come out on ESPN on Tuesday night. So, Bill, welcome in. And I want to, once we get into the Trocchi trivia, but before we get into the viewer's guide, I'm going to ask you about a story that we published this morning on sportingnews.com.
Hello. How are you? Yes. We wrote this morning about, and it's a name that Notre Dame fans should know as well. Edmund McAllister III. They call him EMAC around here in Pickerington. He's a freshman running back. He's my son's age. And we've been watching him since fifth grade. I think I've been telling you about him since fifth grade. And, that the 5-star, at least 4-star future is starting to materialize. And the story isn't a hype story. It isn't one of those like LeBron James cover athlete type deal. It's more about here's what this kid does to do what he does on Friday nights. There's a lot of work involved. There's new challenges to being a high blue chip recruit now. There's a lot of time in the car. There's a lot of work that goes off the field. His parents are Edmund and Tori are great people. And we had a lot of fun writing the story. I actually sat in their driveway and watched him work out. But EMAC is a really good kid. And, part of my job and part of, as you know, I coach all these youth sports and try to put in some time on that end. And seeing kids like him succeed, it makes me happy. One, because it's like, man, I saw that kid play. And, but you go and you definitely appreciate the work that they put in. And it's not all hype, but, he's one of those guys that definitely we'll see it in the future.
Did you show him how to jump cut in the driveway? Did you help him with the technique or anything?
No, he's pretty good on his own. I'm pretty sure I couldn't touch him in space. Like, you know what I mean? Like he's
you were a linebacker, weren't you?
I didn't play defense. I played receiver.
Okay.
But I always tell the story, and I'll do this real quick. When Grant, my son, was in 6th grade, they had EMAC. We were playing EMAC's team, and I was helping coach, and EMAC was in the slot. And I just saw Grant lined up over him. And this is no disrespect to Grant. He's a good athlete too. But I was like, do your best. Like, see if you can. And, Grant got a fistful of jersey, and that was all he got. And then EMAC was in the end zone. But we still have the picture on our phone. It's funny. I told Grant, I was like, keep that one in case this kid goes big time, which I think he will.
Gotcha. So, it's a great story. Encourage everybody to check it out. You tweeted it. I tweeted it. It's on sportingnews.com, obviously. And so we will encourage everybody to read that. And it's a good look at someone who, before they become a 5-star, because he's too young to be a 5-star yet. So, the rankings will come. He likely will be a 5-star. I think you pointed out he's got 40,000 Instagram posts. He's not a secret. I mean, Instagram followers, he's not a secret out there, but we're definitely on the front end of his career, and that's exciting. And
he reminds me, and just real quick, it's a loose comparison, but his running style is a lot like Bijan Robinson. I'm not saying he's Bijan Robinson. I remember Bijan Robinson being the top running back in the country, but there are some things about his game that you're like, yeah, I see that on Sunday with Bijan. And, only want good things for EMAC in the future. And I just encourage our listeners to follow his career. I think he's going to be a pretty good one.
All right. Well, we will get into a viewer's guide in a minute. Let's kick it off with some Trocchi trivia, and then we'll talk a little Matt Rule as well.
Yep.
Since he has looks like he's got some news that he's taking himself out of the Penn State running as well. Anyway, Trocchi trivia, Bender, this week, kind of the theme of this college football season has been like, who are these teams in the top 10, right? Mm-hmm. And I looked in the current top 10, there are 5 schools that have never won the AP National Championship in school history. So that leads into my Trocchi trivia question. Who is the last program to become a first-time national champion?
I think I know the answer, but we'll see.
Yes. So you might already know. We'll let the listeners ponder that. We'll answer it at the end of the show. But who is the last program to become a first-time national champion? We may have one this year. Who knows? Better chance this year than most, I guess, is the point. So let's talk Matt Rule. It's looking like it's being reported he is going to get an extension, sort of like Kirk Cignetti got an extension at Indiana days after James Franklin was fired. Then all the smoke came to Matt Rule with his connections to Penn State, but he may be getting an extension too.
Yeah, kind of takes a couple things. One, it means he means what he says. Like he definitely had said on the record, he loves Nebraska. It's a destination job, those kind of things, and that he had no plans on leaving. It's a curveball in the Penn State coaching search, because when we and we'll talk about this, I'm sure, after this podcast about what kind of content we want to put up. But I mean, just thinking out loud, Penn State's first 2 options, at least in my opinion, were probably Kurt Cignetti and Matt Rule. And now, if those guys aren't coming, does that mean BK is a phone call? It should be. It definitely should be. Otherwise, you're looking at Eli Drinkwitz.
They have to call Dan Lanning just to get the official no.
And I want to talk about something else real quick there that jumps off. We have a piece coming about LSU. I talked to a good friend, Jacob Hester, who is, in my opinion, the embodiment of LSU. And I don't know if our listeners saw the craziness yesterday with the Louisiana governor saying that Scott Woodward or Donald Trump has a better chance picking the next LSU coach than Scott Woodward. And by the way, as Morgan Moriarty, our content producer, pointed out, Governor Landry has an outstanding accent, for those who listened. And
Trocchi trivia, has Scott Woodward updated his LinkedIn account yet? Is that what?
No. So, and Jacob told me to get to the point here. Jacob told me that if he were LSU, and he should be on the committee, by the way, you have to call Dan Lanning. And one of these things where I think the most fascinating thing he told me yesterday is all this talk about fit. And I talk about it all the time. He goes, well, fit's weird because Nick Saban fit here and Les Miles fit here. Les Miles is from Elyria, Ohio. He said Coach O obviously fit. And he pointed out their baseball coach, Jay Johnson. He's from California. He's won 2 of the last 3 national championships in baseball. They ain't worried about how he sounds in the press conference. So, fit comes with winning, and I think that's something to keep in mind as Penn State makes a hire, as LSU makes a hire. One of the things Jacob emphasized is maybe they don't necessarily have to take an SEC type coach. They can take somebody else. So it was a fascinating conversation into the LSU thing, which could spill into the Penn State thing now. And that's kind of my point.
Yep, definitely. So, so a reminder, Tuesday night is the ESPN's first college football ranking show, college football playoff ranking show. This week it is 8 to 8:45, and then they go into a Duke Texas basketball game. Actually, both teams season,
is that next week?
Openers. College basketball
it's
here. It's here, man. So we will have a show that night as well, reacting to what's going on, and we'll see how different or how similar they are. I believe last year, the week 1 ratings, 9 of the top 12 eventually made the actual playoff. So 75%, that's the only real data point we've got. since we just went to 12 last year. But, it's a good idea to be inside that top 12, I think is the point. I think everybody realizes that. So, it'll be interesting to see what the committee thinks of the Big Ten, the SEC. You kind of get a little window into what they're thinking.
Yeah. One of the things we brought up yesterday in the college football meeting was you pointed it out, 75% are that got in last year. The other thing is they do show a patent disrespect for Group of Five schools. Like Memphis, for example, or Navy will maybe be ranked.
Well, in the current AP poll, I just looked this up. Memphis is 25, Navy is 26, Tulane is 27. There's your Group of Five right there.
They won't be ranked then. They'll put like you said. I think I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I think you said like Iowa and Washington will be ranked, so they can beef up the Big Ten. There'll be some 3-loss teams, and then it's kind of like the order. You get a feel of, okay, there are 7 SEC teams in the top 10. That's how they feel about that. I know. I think the plan is to have BD on. We're going to talk with him about the rankings Tuesday, and I always enjoy that. For Brian's analysis, and 2, that he automatically ticks my blood pressure up about 5 to 10 points every time we talk. So, but he always has really good insight on the rankings and how, and I think he sees the board with the conferences very well.
Yep. So make sure you come back Tuesday morning and then Tuesday night too. We got a doubleheader for you next week. All right, let's get into our Week 10 viewers guide, Bender. And then we'll get into the confidence contest, which is getting tighter and tighter and tighter as we go.
I know.
Michigan State with the backdoor cover gave you an extra 2-point lead this week. Otherwise, it would be almost a dead heat. But anyway, all right, let's get into the Viewers Guide Friday night, a little appetizer on Halloween. We got North Carolina and Syracuse, 7:30 on ESPN. Also, Game 6 of the World Series. Toronto may try to close it out on Friday night, but keep an eye on Belichick. Let's see. I went to the Syracuse-Georgia Tech the first half last week before I came home. Syracuse QB situation, not great. Ricky Collins, not ready for the big time. I see Belichick possibly getting a win against a Power 4 opponent on Friday night, but we will see. All right, Saturday, let's really get into it. Noon window, number 9 Vanderbilt at number 20 Texas. That's on ABC. Texas is a 2.5-point favorite. Texas beat Vanderbilt 27-24 last year in Nashville. They're favored by less than a field goal in the rematch. Arch Manning, he's in concussion protocol, questionable for the game, did practice a little bit yesterday. His backup is Matthew Caldwell, who is a backup at Jacksonville State, transferred to Gardner-Webb. He was a backup there, started at Troy last year, and then got invited to Austin by Sark. Sark saw something at Troy. Troy was 3-6 when he started, and he had 13 TDs and 8 interceptions. So anyway, a little bit of a thin resume going from Arch down to Caldwell, but we will see. This continues to be uncharted territory for Vanderbilt on one hand, but on the other, they've been on game day twice already this season. This is the 9th time playing a ranked team in the past 2 years with Diego Pavia at quarterback. They're 4-4 in the first 8 games, plus a bowl win last year over Georgia Tech team. That's obviously pretty good this year. So maybe the stage isn't too big for Vanderbilt. What do you think about this one?
No, I don't think it is. I mean, I picked Texas to win a couple things. If Arch is questionable, that tells me it's probably less than 50-50 plays coming off a concussion. You play it safe in that regard. Could be a very similar game to last week. Texas does have a very good defense. So can Vanderbilt jump? When you're playing a backup quarterback, you want to jump out on them quick. That would be the key for Vanderbilt. If Pavia takes him down, kind of like correct me if I'm wrong, against LSU, they went down and scored first drive, right? Or first quarter. They had the lead early.
No, LSU was up 3-0 and he matched them 3-3.
Okay, so that's right. And then, once Vanderbilt took the lead, it became
They didn't give it back. Yep.
correct. That's kind of what I was getting at. And if they can do that to Texas, even on the road, put some pressure on a backup quarterback, they absolutely will have a chance to win the game. I don't have any inside information, but like I said, that's a guess on Arch. If he's, with concussions and where we're at on that, though. Jam Miller was in a similar situation after taking a nasty shot against Missouri a couple weeks ago, and he played the following week. So we'll see. I'm just picturing right now, I'm distracted because I'm picturing Father Penny in his Joe Carter jersey watching the World Series and watching Toronto take that thing home. So I'm sure he has one. Maybe like a Ricky Henderson Blue Jays jersey, something like that.
One win away for the old Blue Jays.
Right.
One stat, I was going to save it for the confidence contest, but I'll bring it out now. Texas is only averaging 77 yards on the ground in their 4 SEC games, and only one of those opponents were ranked. Vanderbilt on the other side, 146 rushing yards a game in their 4 SEC games, and all 4 of their opponents have been ranked so far. Texas will be the 5th straight SEC game where Vanderbilt's opponent ranked at the time of the game, and then they lose to Vanderbilt, and then they become unranked, I guess. So anyway, that is, it's going to be a good one. Like I said, ABC. And then the other one I want to talk about in the noon window is Penn State at number 1 Ohio State. That's on Fox. Ohio State's a 20.5-point favorite. We don't usually do 20.5-point spreads, games with 20.5-point spreads. But, I guess the point is we shouldn't be in a situation where it's 20.5 points, right? For folks who lost track of Penn State after James Franklin got fired, they've played one game. It was a 25-24 loss at Iowa. Ethan Grunkmeyer threw for only 93 yards and had 2 interceptions in place of Drew Aller. Penn State has Ohio State Saturday, Indiana next Saturday. I guess my question is not breaking this game down, but how much does it hurt the Big Ten that they've kind of lost one of their marquee teams this year?
Well, I mean, over the last couple of years, this is the circle the date game. It was, when I do those Big Ten breakdowns, it was Ohio State, Michigan, Ohio State, Penn State. Those were the 2 biggest games on the schedule. Penn State's lost a bunch of close games, so I'm wondering if this is like the rally moment where they kind of at least give Ohio State a 4-quarter game. And that thought has crossed my mind, but it's going to be really hard to do with a backup quarterback, even though he is a Columbus kid. So I just think, like you said, the shine on this game is off. And, for Penn State, it's kind of like,
it trickles down through the conference too. I feel like it's just,
it has. I think everybody's kind of building it toward 2 things on the Big Ten. Well, I would say 3 games on the Big Ten schedule stand out to me the rest of the way. It's obviously Ohio State, Michigan, especially if Michigan is 9-2. I think USC, Oregon is one that I have circled, because if USC, and we're going to talk about Nebraska here shortly, if they can go to Lincoln and win, they theoretically will be a 2-loss team that still has a shot to be that 4th Big Ten playoff team. And then, it's all built up toward Ohio State, Indiana. I talked to Jim Coyle in Indianapolis about that this week, and we'll get to that one. But when we do, the fascination with Kurt Signetti and is this game different? Is Indiana really that much better? We know both teams are better, but what does it look like compared to last year? And I think that's those are the 3 things remaining on the Big Ten schedule. And it's sad in some ways, like you said, that Ohio State, Penn State isn't part of that progression this year, but that's part of the, LSU, Alabama's not as big as it was. This happens.
Yep. All right. Keep the clicker handy at noon. There's still 7 teams with 0 or 1 ACC losses. So Miami and SMU are 2 of them, and they are playing at noon on ESPN. Duke is 3-1 in the ACC. They're playing Clemson at noon in the ACC networks and on the ACC network. So we're going to have some shifting in the ACC after those games. Thoughts on the ACC right now? I mean, do you think it'll get a little more clarity?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Some of that will depend on Georgia Tech. There's a lot of games in the top 25 this week that were tough to pick by the spread. Clemson, Duke, that's one you got mentioned there.
Yeah, Clemson's favored.
They are, and they're at home, so that's one of those. Miami and SMU, obviously, they're early. This was kind of one that early in the season I was like, that's a tricky game for Miami. As EJ Manuel at Sirius pointed out to me, this is the first time Miami's left the state of Florida this year. So that's an interesting travel game, and SMU can get up and down a little bit. So we'll probably have some more clarity in that race. I'm still kind of eyeballing 2 of 3 out of Miami, Louisville, and Louisville has the head-to-head against Miami and the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets. 2 of those teams I think will be in Charlotte, and we don't have a lot of clarity as to which 2 it'll be.
When you're in Miami, it takes a long time to get out of the state because you got to go up the whole state to get out of there.
Well, they haven't. Over to Texas
Saturday afternoon. Speaking of Florida, Georgia and Florida resume. Number 5 Georgia against Florida in Jacksonville, 3:30 on ABC. Georgia is a 7-point favorite. This game is moving to Atlanta next year. Maybe I'll go. And Tampa in 2027 as Everbank Stadium in Jacksonville undergoes a 2-year renovation. This is did you know what they're doing with the stadium, by the way?
I do not.
So next year, 2026, the Jags are going to play with just the lower bowl.
Okay.
And they're going to fix the upper bowl, whatever they're doing, renovation. And then in 2027, they still are looking for a home. They're looking at Orlando and Gainesville for 2027 because the stadium will be completely shut down for the second phase of the renovation in 2027. So the Jags, they don't have Tim Tebow anymore, but they may be playing at the Swamp in 2027 or down in Orlando. So that's an interesting side note to this rivalry. So they didn't want to put them on campuses. They're keeping them in NFL stadiums, like I said, the Falcon Stadium in 26 and the Bucks in 27. But for this game, it's the first one since Florida fired Billy Napier, which seems like 3 months ago. They have a 3-4 record. Gators have yet to score 30 points against anyone besides Long Island University, which can correct me if I'm wrong, Bill. I think they were in Chad Powers last week.
Yeah.
Anyway, the closest game in this rivalry in the last 5 years has been 14 points. So I'm not sure why the odds makers think the Gators will keep this one at 7. What do you think?
Yeah, Georgia, it's been one-sided. You can say it's been a rivalry, but the last 4 really haven't been close. We'll see how Florida comes off. Some teams, you saw it with UAB a couple weeks ago. You fire your coach and they come out ready. And
get the bump. Yep.
The bump that NFL teams feel. And so that is a possible factor. I just like where Georgia's at coming off a bye week. They got through the grind of their schedule. They're still on a pretty good track here. Their offense is balanced around Gunnar Stockton. I like the Bulldogs here. I would like to see an entertaining game. It's always fun. There was a period of time when the team that wasn't supposed to win would win this game on a semi-annual basis, but we're not there until Florida shows they can do that.
There's a lot of punkiness in this game.
I love it.
There's a lot of after the whistle kind of BS between these guys. They all know each other. They're from the same recruiting circles, and a lot of trash talk on the field. I don't know that the fan bases have as much as like the actual players on the field. I feel like so get ready for a few extra shoves here and there and late hits and things like that. So anyway, did you know the SEC shorts thing, the final thing? Okay, so did you watch it last week? I don't know if you
I did not.
They had someone dressed up. They went into a room that had no lights on, and they were like, Kirby Smart, can you help us turn the lights on? And he gives the timeout signal as the clap on for the lights to come on. So that was a good little note to that game. Anyway, so all right, so keep the clicker handy in the afternoon. We got number 12 Notre Dame at Boston College, 3:30 on ESPN. The Irish are a 4-touchdown favorite in that one. Number 13 Texas Tech at Kansas State, 3:30 on Fox. Tricky spot for the Raiders as a TD favorite. Kansas State's been actually playing pretty good. Number 2, Indiana at Maryland is the CBS game. Another chance for them to just drop the hammer on a helpless Big Ten team. And number 15, Virginia, the quiet Cavaliers at Cal, 3:45 on ESPN2. They're on a 6-game winning streak, and they're 4-0 in the ACC. And somewhere in their locker room is a giant horseshoe because they've gotten awfully lucky. Your thoughts on that slate right there?
Kansas State's kind of had Texas Tech's number, so keep an eye on that one. They are playing better. That was a huge miss for me in the confidence contest last week. That was one that, when you do those picks, and I think they were up 21-7 real quick on Kansas, I was like, well, there's an L. And Texas Tech, the quarterback situation, is Barron Morton going to be out there? I would not call Maryland hopeless. Malik Washington's played well in spots. They are good for one a year. When somebody comes out to Maryland, they're good for one. Like they might not win, but they could play there. Or Indiana could just thump them like they've been doing.
I'm still limping from my UCLA prediction last week that they were going to give Indiana a game. So.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Somebody will give Indiana a game here down the stretch. And, Brian so astutely pointed out, and once you really dig into it, again, he sees the board well. Iowa's really the only team that's challenged Indiana. So that could look good later. We'll see if Maryland can do the same. And then Virginia, of all those ACC teams we talked about, they're one of the favorites I like this week, even though they're going out there and they probably do have a lucky something charm in there. I don't know what a Cavalier carries around for good luck, but they certainly have that. And I kind of like them on the road this week.
A sword. They got a sword.
Yeah, a lucky sword.
All right, Saturday evening, we got number 18, Oklahoma, at number 14, Tennessee, 7:30 ABC. Tennessee is a 3-point favorite. All right, are you ready for this little breakdown? We're in our college football meeting yesterday, and people are saying, well, if Oklahoma loses this one, Brent Venables should be on the hot seat. And I'm like, you know what? They've had a pretty hard schedule.
Right.
And they're like, that's too bad. You're in the SEC. You still got to win. And I thought about it and like, that's true to a certain extent. But I did want to go through their losses from last year. Are you ready?
I'm listening.
Tennessee finished number 9 in the country. Texas finished number 4 in the country. South Carolina finished number 19. Ole Miss finished number 11. Missouri finished number 22. And then LSU, they also lost to. They were the second team also receiving votes, just outside the top 25. This year, they lost to Texas, who's currently number 20, Ole Miss, who's currently number 7. And they beat Michigan, who is currently number 21. And now they've still got number 14, Tennessee, number 4, Alabama, and number 19, Missouri, still on the slate. So can we agree? Or Oklahoma's schedule has been murderous.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying that, but they signed up for that. And one of the themes I said is, okay, what if we get to Saturday evening, and if Oklahoma loses, and if Texas loses, very plausible scenarios here. And then what if Nebraska loses? And it sounds like the beginning of a joke. A Nebraska, Texas, and an Oklahoma fan walk into a bar and they say, "Why the hell aren't we still in the Big 12?" I mean, that's what it should be. Because they would probably have easier playoff paths if they were. Think about that. The wide open Big 12. I mean, that's a column I may end up writing Saturday night. Because we're talking about Texas Tech and BYU, and we're going to talk about another game here in a second. Cincinnati being potential Big 12 champions when proud blue blood programs like Nebraska and Texas and Oklahoma. Now, Texas did go to the playoff in the semifinal last year. I'm not saying that, but
2 years in a row.
Oklahoma, like Nebraska, and Rob Cassidy, one of our editors, pointed this out. Like, is that their future? Is this your life in the SEC, where Nebraska has never won a Big Ten championship? And I think they played for one, and it did not go well when they played Wisconsin. So I forget which Wisconsin running back was just running all over them. Pick one. I think that's something to keep in mind. So that could be a theme that we see over the evening. If separate, Oklahoma hasn't been the same since John Mateer got hurt.
Right.
And maybe he's still hurt. The offense did not look the same against Texas, obviously. He came back maybe a little too soon. the shine of give Lane Kiffin credit. Ole Miss was able to go in there and win last week, and then you faced another challenge this week on the road against a high-flying Tennessee offense that I think we're sleeping on Tennessee a little bit. If Tennessee takes care of their business here down the stretch, they could get to 10 wins and get right back in the playoff. And that, who knew? You're going to be sitting there, Bill. I'm telling you, you're going to be sitting there on a Thanksgiving weekend watching Vandy and Tennessee, and it's a very likely scenario that one of those guys will get in the playoff.
The whole nation's going to be watching Vanderbilt, Tennessee. Forget about Michigan, Ohio State. I hope they're not in the same window, Bill, because that will kill the game up in Ann Arbor.
We'll see. I think you'll be in an evening window that day. But it definitely is a scenario. And then, skipping ahead to Cincy, Utah, I'm very intrigued by this game. It means staying up late. I understand that. But I want to see if Cincinnati, a team with Brendan Sorsby, who's kind of flown under the radar, I watched the Nebraska game when they lost earlier this year, and they got greedy late. They could have won that game. They could be undefeated. Can they go out to Utah?
Well, just not to jump
go
in,
ahead.
But the Cincinnati athletic department moved that game from Indianapolis to Kansas City to make a little extra money, and it turned into a Nebraska home game, which it would not have been in Indianapolis. It would have been more 50-50, and they lost a very close game. And, yeah, they could be undefeated potentially if they played that game in Indianapolis and it wasn't, 95% Nebraska fans.
Yep, and it's a chance for Utah to stand on business here and stay in the Big 12 race. That's a fun game, and that's what November's about. Is as much as I bash on the 12-team playoff, this is the allure of it. That you're sitting there on November 1st at 11:30 at night watching a meaningful game between Utah and Cincinnati.
It's a 10:15 kickoff on ESPN. Utah 9.5-point favorite.
That seems a little high to me. We'll get into that here in a bit as well.
So, just real quick, Utah, they had to turn to a true freshman quarterback last week against Colorado. They're 3-2 in the Big 12, by the way. They got a lot of work to do to get in the mix, but this would be step number one for them.
I thought they only had one Big 12 loss.
No, they're 3-2. 3-2.
What did I miss? Texas Tech? Who else beat them? I thought BYU and Texas Tech were their losses. Oh, BYU is in the Big 12. Yes. So, yes, they do have there's my moment of the day where I'm like, BYU Utah's a non-con game. No,
conference realignment, baby.
You are correct. It happens once a week.
Yeah. So anyway, Bird Thicklin,
of course,
replaced the injured Devin Dampier and led the Utes to a 53-7 blowout of Colorado that wasn't even that close, if you can imagine. Dampier is still questionable this week, but that's kind of how Kyle Whittingham rolls. I think Cam Rising is still questionable. He was questionable all 14 weeks last year, I think. So it's hard to tell. Wouldn't surprise me if we saw the freshman again. And then, Brandon Sorsby, you mentioned him, unbelievable year. 6th nationally in passer rating, 20 touchdowns, 1 interception. So this was the game day choice, and it's a good choice. It's the 6th time they've gone out to Salt Lake City, and it's going to be a good one. So you're right on track there, and that's going to be a good one to kind of go to bed to once we get through all the other stuff that's going on. And keep the clicker handy. So the other games in the evening window on the major networks, South Carolina is at number 7 Ole Miss, 7 o'clock on ESPN. Number 23 USC at Nebraska, 7:30 on NBC. That's a big one in the Big Ten. Number 8 Georgia Tech at NC State, 7:30 on ESPN2. Very tricky one for the Jackets. They better watch out. Purdue at number 21 Michigan, 7 o'clock on Big Ten Network. And then some hot seat coaches, if you want to check in. Kentucky at Auburn, 7:30 on SEC Network. Wake Forest at Florida State, 7:30 ACC Network. There'll be hot seat talk no matter what happens in those two games.
Kentucky Auburn, the John Summerall Bowl, maybe, for one of those teams. I know Father Penny mentioned him earlier in the podcast that John Summerall is one of those candidates primed to move up.
Yeah,
I like Ole Miss. I think South Carolina, It could be a little bit of an emotional letdown. That USC-Nebraska game's a huge one. We talked about Rule at the top. Huge game for Lincoln Riley. Talk at length about the time zone stuff, but this is USC's opportunity. USC's a better team than Nebraska, I think. I mean, with their offense, their running game.
But they just have not done well going east.
Nope. And this is a chance for Raiola and Nebraska to win that game. The winner, that is a true, to the definition, elimination game. There's no question. So I'm very intrigued by that one. Nebraska, though, missing an opportunity, wearing the black shirts here instead of a classic uniform, red and white versus white. You know, I know you are a
that's a bad move.
You're really quick on the uniform games and the aesthetics of it, and we're missing out there. So USC, a huge opportunity for them. That's probably, out of those late games, aside from Oklahoma and Tennessee, the one that I'll be zeroed in on. And then Michigan plowing along. You know, I think there's an opportunity there with how bad Purdue's pass defense is for Bryce Underwood to really, because they're going to need a pass. They can't just be Justice Haynes. They've got to be a little more than that, and we'll see what they can do down the stretch here.
I heard this stat about Purdue. Barry Odom coaching over there. They're not doing very well. Do you know what his salary is?
No. Enlighten me.
$6 million.
They play hard. You're not going to believe me. Like I've watched them. They're not good, but compared to last year, go look at last year and how dismal it was. They're a team that I think they'll get better with Barry Odom, but it's just not there this year. Even against Illinois earlier this year, they were getting blown out, but they were. It's not a stat that Pro Football Focus can quantify. They play hard. They're just, the talent's not there, Bill. So that is, you can make the argument, and a strong one, that he's getting paid too much, which you're right. But
are sports writer salaries going up like coaches' salaries, Bill?
Well, they don't say he writes hard. You know, like he writes hard. That never gets put in my bio. But
no.
But
you do write hard, Bill. You do.
We try. We work hard at Sporting News. We get after it. There's no doubt.
All right, let's get into our confidence contest. Here we go. I got you 8-6 last week. So now it stands Bender 82.5, Troche 80.
Tight.
After 9 weeks. So we pick five games a week against the spread, any game we want. And then we order them contest, bold confidence contest style, 5 points, 4, 3, 2, 1. So the break even each week is 7.5. We're both over 9 at this point, or close to 9. So we're doing well. We're doing well. Bender had a huge lead early in the year that has almost vanished. But I retain the honor. So I'm going to go first here as we go. My 5-pointer, I'm taking Georgia. -7 against Florida. I'm banking on not banking on the new coach bump here. Billy Gonzalez, he's not really new. He's been there forever for Florida. I'm banking on the Kirby Smart hates Florida with the passion of 1,000 suns, because that was the rivalry when he was a player, and he wants to bury him every time he plays them. So I'm thinking 2-touchdown win, just like last season.
You're not going to gain any ground when we have the same 5-pointer.
Really?
I have it right here. My picks have a very SEC flavor to them this week, since that's the conference we all need to watch all day, apparently. Georgia -7, right? Is that where we're at? Yeah, yep. I'm going to do the same. I mean, you look at those scores the last 4 years, you can't get tricked into it's not a rivalry until one team steps up. And I do think Florida will play with some emotion. It'll probably be tight in the first half, but I like Georgia too much here. I think coming out of the bye week, their defense will be a little bit better too. So give me the Bulldogs for 5 as well. Sorry.
Yeah, they've given up over 30 a couple times, but they're playing a team that can't score 30.
Correct.
So if the Gators put 30 up on Georgia, now I'm worried they're not going to, they're not going to make that CFP semifinals or something like that. Something that's not Georgia, especially if Florida does it to them. So anyway, all right, 4-pointer, Ohio State. -20.5 against Penn State. Ohio State is 6-0-1 against the spread this year. The only undefeated team against the spread. I can't imagine Penn State scoring more than 10, and I don't see Ohio State scoring less than 35. with the way Julian Sain has been throwing the rock around. I like the Buckeyes to cover.
They are 6-1 against the spread. And with the one cover was the Ohio Bobcats.
Ooh.
So
the team rankings had it as 6-0-1.
I think that's when the line moved a little bit. So that's probably accurate, but I think the game line, I'm like, that's the one stat I keep throwing out there. The Bobcats covered.
All right.
So nobody else did.
I'll give them their flowers.
You're probably right there. But I stayed away from that game just because Penn State has a bunch of close losses. They might be bad teams, but I could see the Buckeyes winning that 35-10, though. No question. 4, I'm going to go Tennessee -3 at home. They beat Oklahoma down at Oklahoma last year. And I think Oklahoma, despite that defense, Ole Miss showed if you can throw the ball on them a little bit, that they could break a little bit. So I'll take the Vols at home, Heupel -3. Could be a close game, and Oklahoma could rise up there, but I like Tennessee in that one.
Okay. Sounds good. My 3-pointer, Houston, -13.5 at home against West Virginia.
Picking on Rich Rod.
Yeah, who's going to hire Willie Fritz? He's the Kirk Cignetti of this year. Older dude who wins everywhere, deserves one final bump up the ladder. I think he's going to get some calls for sure, especially with Cignetti doing what he's done the last 2 years. West Virginia's first year is pretty much in the books. They put a good effort together last week against TCU. I don't think they're going to go on the road and cover against this team. They're playing too well.
Yeah, I mean that's good call. I had early in the week that was 14.5, just for clarity's sake there, that West Virginia, that line's moved a little bit, but I'm with you. I think that could happen. Did you say, I thought Clemson was a 2.5-point dog? Are they favored by 2.5?
Yes.
Okay. And we're on our 3 right now, right? So did I say Ole Miss 3 yet?
You're on your 3. You've gone Georgia -7 and Tennessee -3.
Okay. So Ole Miss my 3 is Ole Miss -12.5. Is that what the line, if that's what the line still is? The Rebs, I think, are going to, I said South Carolina kind of put the all-in game last week. Give me the Rebels by at least 2 touchdowns at home against the Gamecocks. So even if that's at 13 now, I'm good with Ole Miss.
Can't seem to find it. That's a night game, right?
Should be. I
think it is.
I can tell you. Let me.
South Carolina 12.5.
Yeah, I'll stick with the 12.5.
Clemson's 2 right now, favored by 2. Just so you know. Against.
Well, I'll go twice in a row, and then we'll go back to you. I have Clemson as -2. I'm going to take them as my 2.
Okay.
Is that okay with you? That I ditched. Yeah. But the Tigers at home, toss-up game. They've been hit or miss. They could absolutely lose that game, but if I'm getting 2 points at Death Valley against the Duke team that's also been hit or miss, I guess I'm just going to go with the Tigers.
Yeah, I don't like Duke in close games. They kind of self-destruct a little bit. They did it against Georgia Tech. They did it against Illinois. That wasn't a close game, but they have a tendency to kind of hurt themselves.
I think you're going to play the same Georgia Tech game here, and Clemson wins.
Yes, could be.
That's what I'm seeing.
Yeah. All right, 2-pointer for me. Cal +4.5 against Virginia. The magic comes to an end here on the left coast. They've been living a lie. Chandler Morris has been playing hurt, but they've still, like I said, they've won 3 out of 4 in overtime. The 4th one was a safety in the 4th quarter. Traveling 3,000 miles, it's proven tough for a lot of teams this year, and I think they are going to they're going to not be able to pull this one out at the last second. But even if they do, I'm still getting 4.5. So I'm taking Cal.
I'm going to put my money where my mouth is as usual, and it'll probably get me in trouble. But USC -6 on the road. It's the only road team I'm taking this week. I think they're better than Nebraska. It was either USC or Cincinnati, and I couldn't decide. So I'm going to go USC -6. Lincoln Riley gets a road win. They win by a touch. It'll probably be right around there, like a 34-27 type game. But I just think they're the better team. I could be proven wrong here, but give me the Trojans. It's the third time I've taken them, and I'm 0-2. So let's hope I get this one right.
I've been wrong with North Carolina a couple of times, so I'm staying away from them. I think they're going to lose Friday night, but I wasn't going to put it on the list. My number one, Vanderbilt,
Okay.
plus 2.5, especially if Arch doesn't play. I think that's a really good bet. I gave you the rushing stats that Vanderbilt has a huge advantage there. And Vanderbilt is number 6 in the nation in red zone TD percentage. Texas, number 79. So that's another key part of both teams where their seasons are, is that Texas has not been able to crunch in touchdowns when they needed to in the red zone. That's why they've had so many close games that they had to escape from. Vanderbilt's been very good in the red zone. The one game they weren't was Alabama, and they lost. All the rest, they've been pretty good, and they've won. So we'll see if they can do that. We talked about the stage not necessarily being too big at this point. Hope that continues. And so Commodores.
3-point game either way, in my opinion.
8-1?
27-24, 24-21 type game. I think the higher the score
and I'm getting
goes,
2.5. So
the higher the score goes, the better chance Vanderbilt has to win, because that shows that they can score on that Texas defense, and that'll be the key to that game.
The over-under is only 44. So the odds makers are saying 23-21 Texas. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, it'll be close. It's going to be a fun game.
So, all right. So let's to review. You've got 5 favorites, Bill. You've got Georgia given 7, Tennessee given 3, Ole Miss given 12.5, Clemson giving 2, and USC giving 6. My 5-pointer, Georgia, is the same as you. I got Ohio State winning by 3 touchdowns against Penn State, 20.5. Houston minus 13.5, and I'm taking Cal plus 4.5, and I'm taking Vanderbilt plus 2.5. So we'll see if I can finally catch you in the confidence contest this Saturday. All right, let's get back to the Trocchi trivia question. Who was the last program to become a first-time national champion?
I think it's Florida, and I think it was 1996.
You're correct on both accounts.
Yeah.
Florida 1996 was the last time. It's almost 30 years. Maybe it's time for a new one after 30 years.
I remember that stat. That stat's been thrown around a little bit with the SEC dominance, and I always do and to close it out for Father Penny, there's 2 running stories I do at Sporting News each year. Do the when the last time your program won a national championship. We update that every January 21st. And I remember putting Florida was the last first-time national champion a long time ago, and we still do that. And then on the when did your city win its last pro sports championship? So if the Toronto Blue Jays do that tonight, I mean, I believe it hasn't been since, the Raptors.
1993.
The Raptors won one.
Oh, your city. Yep.
Yeah, the city, not the team. But yeah, it's been a minute. It's been since Joe Carter and Cito Gaston. And
all of Canada.
Go look at that Blue Jays 93 roster, and you're like, wow, man, they were the deal, man. They had everybody. So we'll definitely check that out. But yeah, the Raptors won it in 2019. So I always update that because, as I'm quick to point to people, that my Cincinnati buddies, who are some of the best sports fans I know, Cincinnati has not won a pro sports championship since 1990.
They made the college football playoff.
But they did make the playoff, so there you go. And they may make it again this year. Who knows?
They may make it again this year. So, all right. Well, thank you, everyone. Reminder, Tuesday morning at 9:30, we'll review all these games from Week 10. Tuesday night, we'll go over the CFP rankings. And then, obviously, next Thursday, we'll look at Week 11. So, thanks to everyone for joining us here on the YouTube channel. It's growing week by week. It's really fun. We love having the comments. We love having led by Father Penny, of course. And good luck. He's a Red Sox fan, but we'll give good luck to the Blue Jays anyway in the World Series this weekend. And thank you to everyone who's listening to the CFB Nation All-America podcast on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Thank you to Irish Breakdown, your source for Notre Dame football information. Enjoy the rest of your day, and we will see you on Tuesday morning.